about the number of times some preachers mention sexual orientation and preach 0 sermons about domestic violence, 0 sermons about sexual assault, 0 sermons about molestation, 0 sermons about racism.
In 2017, Matthew Kim wrote this book called Preaching with Cultural Intelligence. And the point of the book is that we need to step outside of our experience in our context to reach different cultures and to be celebratory of that. And how do we preach in those contexts, etc. And to that point, I think this black woman makes a pretty decent point. Discussing sexual orientation and condemning same-sex acts is very culturally on point for a evangelical Protestant, but oftentimes that preacher can't step outside of that culture or that context when preaching, and a good example of that is not having sermons condemning domestic violence and these other things, racism and so on. Now you might say that domestic violence and racism aren't the issues of the day, or that people aren't trying to justify either one of those immoral actions, but that is beyond false. A number of people are continuing to justify racism and domestic violence and using our religion to do so. I do absolutely agree that being able to preach sermons against domestic violence, against racism, and these other things, including same-sex acts, I think, demonstrate an ability to be culturally intelligent and to step outside maybe their white Christian evangelical space, or even just white space, into another space, into another culture, into another context, and to be able to apply the scriptures that do apply to those various contexts, situations, cultures, etc. And the inability to do so demonstrates that cultural unawareness and a cultural ignorance in a particular area. Now, Matthew Kim also talks about grace and forgiveness. In his section on ethnicities, he talks about how the elephant in the room is basically that all of us, to one extent or another, probably can or has demonstrated racist, ethnocentric, etc. attitudes, behaviors, thoughts, and so on. And so it's important when mentioning culturally illiterate Christians to not say condemn them for that. That is not meant to condemn or shame those Christians, including myself. All of us could practice more cultural intelligence. It's just to say that this is a problem and it is something to be aware of, and that the gospel reaches a diverse people, and you needing to speak to those diverse people is something you need to be aware of and something that you need to be able to do. Particularly and especially if you're going to be a preacher, if you're going to be an evangelist, and so on. So yeah, that's my little rant and commentary. Let me know what you guys think about all of this down in the comments below, and make sure you follow me for more content like this.